Hello, son of a rat. Welcome. Thank you for being here so quickly and so soon. Congratulations on being first. We do have a 3-minute ad just to start stream, so that way, as people join, they're not going to get ads. Hi, Jap. Yes, the 2 weeks are finally over and I'm back. Thank you for the kissies, anxiety. It's good to see you, Pan. Hello. ASMR mans. Oh, so many of my wonderful fishies are back. I mean, I'm back, but like... Hello, Billingham. Welcome. Let me see if I can get my hand tracking to work. How have my sweet little fishies been since I got to see you last? Drunken Willow, thank you. Thank you for welcoming me back. It's good to be back. I'm excited to continue reading for you. I missed it. I really missed it. For some odd reason, my camera that I normally use is not being registered by my computer, so until further notice, I don't have hands. 14-day delay with UPS. Oh, what? You've got... Oh, that really sucks. So you've got a massive delay on those stickers? Hi, Set Fox. I haven't swam in a while. Hopefully I do not drown under the water. Who wants to guess what flavor electrolytes I have today? Now this is going to be a hard guess because it's a mixture of 2 different flavors. I love your streams. I love you. I love you too, random citizen. And points to whoever recognizes that reference. I wonder, what is the reason for the delay? Can I have a clue? That made my day. Is that from Megamind? Yes, that's a reference from Megamind. How can I give a hint without... Well, I would say that this is a common take on a summer beverage. Let me go ahead and switch over to our reading view, and I am going to go ahead and start the next puzzle, and I am going to prepare some more puzzles so that we are ready to go. As I continue reading, ideally these puzzles should actually be playing automatically. Hi, Starcat. There we go. We got the puzzle up. I don't know why the puzzle isn't automatically playing, but honestly, I haven't spent any time looking into it. I've been working on a lot of things behind the scenes, and I get to tell you guys a little bit about my time at WeebCon, but not too much because we do have a very, very big chapter to read today. We are on chapter 8, and that is starting on page 124, and I believe chapter 8 ends on page 151. That's a lot of reading. Thank you, Moro, for all of the hydrate. Pineapple and orange, no. You're 25% correct. This summer beverage has citrus in it. And if you have a water with you, please take a drink of your water. And if you don't have some water, I do recommend that you get some water, or you can just, drink what you have. How are you doing today? 100% honest? Oh yeah, let's do that, chat. Let's do a round of how are you really? All right? I want to know, how are you genuinely right now? How are you? How I am, my health has been a challenge this week. It has been testing my patience. It has been testing my resilience. I'll say a lot of this week has been lethargic, fatigued, just, I guess, part of the chronic fatigue is just the exhaustion. Yeah, I've been flaring this week, and my sleep has not been fantastic, and essentially everything that comes back down to, if you don't know, I'm chronically ill. I have a nervous system disorder, so I guess when I was born, I accidentally selected hard mode in the game menu. High pro self-love, pain flare, but I have more energy than normal. Honestly, I had that 2 days ago. I did a bunch and then immediately regretted. I've regretted using all the energy at once. Hello, Kenji. Hello, Itachi. How are you doing? I know, Seta Fox. I hope so too. I think that I am grateful to the people in my life and my workplace and my employer for being patient with me and allowing me the time and space to accommodate my health needs. So if you are like me, or if you are in a position kind of like that, just have gratitude instead of internalizing it and feeling angry or sorry for yourself, or self-pity, self-hatred. Instead of feeling these negative things and internalizing the negativity, internalizing the unfortunate circumstances that you're enduring, be grateful that life has allotted you the people who are willing to be patient and wait for you. That's how I'm trying to reframe that mindset. White Sunset, it is great to see you. I wanted to wait until you were out of ad jail. It is great to see you, and I hope that this will be a nice, wonderful, relaxing stream for you. Lizard, why? But my back goes out more than I do. Yeah, I guess that doesn't necessarily mean that you're old, but it is inconvenient. Hi, Crispix. Pan, we're not here to pick a fight. We're gonna put you in timeout. We are here to be nice to others, and we are here to have some peace and relaxation in the day, this is not the place to be voicing our opinions and arguing with others. Nice voice. Thank you, Alex. Hello, Frosty. Hi, Donovan. Never give up on that 8-week project because those 9 months will be the most important 5 years of your life. Honestly, yeah. I can't do moderator commands or things on mobile. I was trying to do TikTok modding. Thank you, Pika, for taking a look at that. I honestly am still quite unfamiliar with the TikTok moderation. Only because TikTok moderation sucks. Fun fact for literally anybody, TikTok moderation is non-existent. So if you see a bad actor in TikTok chat, or you just don't like what they're saying, ignore them. They'll go away. They always do. Nobody did anything wrong. It's just a matter of ensuring that we're all on the same page. So if somebody gets muted, just take it. Take the mute, sit there for a whole 5 minutes or whatever, and don't start a fight, and you won't get in trouble. I like your voice. Hi, Moore. You know how many times you help me go to sleep? I'm gonna guess at least 2. Am I right? Maro, you are correct. I am rather parched. Nobody guessed it, but my electrolytes today are raspberry lemonade. It's a blend of, it's actually 2 packets of electrolytes. One of them is lemonade and one of them is raspberry. And it's very yummy. Let's see, I don't think that's gonna work. TikTok's UI is a complete mess. I know how it works on PC, but I'm halfway across the state. Yeah, Pika, don't worry about it. Let me see if I can ping our TikTok mod and just make sure that they're on deck. Yes, I don't normally like to bonk people on TikTok. But no hard feelings, really, ever. And I hope anytime somebody gets muted, no matter what platform, I hope we all understand that it's not malicious, there's no hard feelings. We just gotta maintain the space and make sure that we're all going to be nice to each other. I'm not sure how to do anything there. I think Anxiety has TikTok moderation. I remember because when you had the new account, I fixed it. Steph, I have to head out. Oh, Drunken Whaler. I hope that you get to either rewatch the VOD or that you get to listen to the next one. Hi, John. Thank you for welcoming me back. I watch your YouTube when you're not here. Really? Thank you for watching YouTube. This is a peaceful space. Yes. So, what we are doing today is we are going to continue reading Drown the Stars by Quiana Chase. If anybody comes into chat, please do let them know that we are reading Drown the Stars. And if you want to access any of the links, the best place to do that is going to be on Twitch. But am I an anime character? Sure. Hi, Voodoo. It's good to see you. Hi, Khalil. Oh, I'm so happy to see all of you again. So, if this is your first time joining us, Drown the Stars is a sci-fi alien drama with I love it. I love it, and I cannot wait for you to continue this journey with me. Hi, Dreaming Truth. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm just glad I was acknowledged. Oh, of course, Riley. Of course. Yes, Ghost, it's me. Drown the Stars follows a story of Vane, one of two main characters. They are sisters, and Vane is known as a weeper and carries a weeper's mark under one of her eyes. And it is what it sounds like. To weep is to cry, and in this society, crying is extremely looked down upon and discriminated against, and even sought to kill these individuals or put them in a position to be, oh my god, Jap. Oh my god, Jap. Oh my god, Jap. Thank you so much. Holy cow. Oh my god, you don't know how long I've been wanting to get that. That's crazy. Jap, thank you so much for purchasing the Liz Meta customizable model. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh. Next time you guys see me, I'm gonna be in 2D. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Riley, thank you for the gifts. You guys are so sweet. Is this your first read of Drown the Stars? This is my second. This is the first time that I am reading it on the internet, for the internet. I am recording the narration of it, and if you'd like to listen to the previous narration recording live streams, you can check out the YouTube live streams. There is a live tab on my YouTube channel where you can actually go back and look through the previous live streams. That's where they are going to be for now, but in the future, I am going to be editing the entire book, the entire narration of the book, and I will be turning it into an audiobook. So if you are enjoying the story so far, or if you enjoy the story as you join and you listen, please do consider purchasing a copy of the book for yourself. It is available for free if you go through Quiana Chase's Linktree. But if you are watching on Twitch, you can !buy book, and that'll give you the link to purchase the book on TikTok Shop, where you can get a signed copy and you can get a discount on it. I personally am currently reading on Kindle because I am in a vocal booth. Also, before I get started, I do want to ask for your forgiveness and your patience ahead of time, because as I read, I am going to make mistakes. I am going to repeat sentences. I am going to say things incorrectly, say things, in a tone that I just wanted to redo. So Just vibe, relax, take a deep breath, listen with me, and just enjoy the reading. I am, of course, going to do my best, but nobody's perfect. I like when Steph makes mistakes, her tsundere side takes over. Khalil is already ready. I haven't even asked. He's already putting a 1 in chat. Okay, this is the part. Put a 1 in chat if you are ready for me to read Chapter 8. Riley is ready. Pan is ready. Khalil is ready. ASMR Mans is ready. Anxiety is ready. Jap is ready. Cineveret is ready. Pro Self Love is ready. I appreciate you all so very much. Billingham is ready. Let me double check. Okay. Alright, and my microphone settings should be all set. Navi is ready. Hi, Navi. Hi. Okay. Deep breath. You can also do a variety while you're watching on Twitch. You also have a variety of other features available to you. You can turn the lights on and off. You can give me head pats. You can also check out other commands, ! Commands. There is also a puzzle if you are interested in solving a puzzle while you relax. You can, if you're on TikTok, you can go into my profile link, and there in the other section is community puzzle. If you're on Twitch, super easy, say the word puzzle. Hi, Miss Straw. Chapter 8. 2 years post-Wakma. 5 years before assassination. Vane expanded her bioband and pressed it against the entry panel of the palace, rubbing the back of her neck with her other hand. The nightmares had started to get worse again, though not as bad as they'd been a year after her promotion. Eventually, she stopped trying to sleep and pulled out her tools instead, trying to create curriculum for the new heir, Kellis. She wasn't even 2 years old yet. But the Queen was determined to start her tutoring within the next month. The more Vane tried to put something together age-appropriate and actually useful. I'm turning into a duck. That's going in the bloopers. The more Vane tried to put something together age-appropriate and actually useful, the more she realized that she knew nothing at all. She had given up about an hour before she needed to be at the palace. Her late nights rarely left her feeling exhausted anymore, but they did make her feel like biting off the head of anyone who tried to interact with her for more than 3 seconds. A member of the Crown Guard spotted her and gave her a salute. "Sir Vane, you're here early." "Am I? I didn't think so." She had arrived at the same time she always did, commandeering Rakva's day before Salakin had a chance to. She had arrived at the same time she always did, commandeering Rakva's day before Salakin had a chance to. It was an arrangement beneficial for both of them. It was an arrangement beneficial to both of them. "Well, your classes for the Crown's children don't start for another 4 hours. The guard said. Or, at least, that's what it says on the schedule I was given. Why was he memorizing her schedule? Vane straightened her spine and pulled back her shoulders, clasping her hands behind her as she slowly turned to face the guard. "Do you know what my job description is, officer?" "You're a tutor, so you don't need to be here for another 4... Guards didn't care about things like this. They didn't try to interrogate knights. Someone had put him up to this. Vane tried to keep her face clear of concern and held up her left hand, cutting him off. "My job is to make sure the prince receives sufficient training for his station. I can't provide that in a classroom for 2 hours a day." The guard scowled and folded his arms. No member of the Crown has ever had as much specialized training before. Not even the Crown heir receives it except from her mother. Vane tried to decide if it would be worth... Oh my God. Vane tried to decide if it would be worth it to stand up to him, or if she should back off and go back home until her official time with the kids. If she relented here, she'd also be relenting tomorrow, and the day after, and every day after that. There would be nothing left to distract her. "That is correct," Vane said, taking a few slow steps towards him. "It's never been done like this before. Would you like to know what else hadn't been done before?" The guard held his ground. But the color of his knuckles grew a shade lighter as he tightened his grip on his spear. "Everyone knows your sister was the real one who..." Vane took another step forward, getting uncomfortably close to him. She made sure not to blink and keep her gaze riveted to his. "Do they?" The guard swallowed, but not a single flicker of fear lit behind his eyes. "It doesn't take a detective to figure it out, sir. She's out campaigning with the king. You're here playing school teacher. And you're a weeper." Vane gave a little gasp and covered her mouth with her hand. "My word! You're right. Are you going to tell the queen? Because I'm sure she doesn't know." "I've insulted you," the guard said, dropping into a battle-ready stance. It was only then she realized he was trying to goad her into a duel. No one had tried to do that in ages. "You're very subtle," Vane said. She kept her hands clasped behind her back and stepped even closer. "You're also right. Tell me, since you are so observant, why is the Crown risking so much to keep me in the royal entourage?" The guard didn't say a word, and only hovered his thumb over the blast activator on his spear. Vane tilted her head and smiled, a trick she'd learned from the king, and his eyes widened in an emotion akin to fear. "I'm going to let you in on a secret," Vane said. "I'm a weeper by choice. I chose to be the knight of the prince over anyone else. I play school teacher in the palace because I want to. And the best part is that the crown will let me get away with it. The crown will let me get away with anything. Do you know why that is?" The definition of the man's face changed as he clenched his jaw. Vane leaned in until she was barely an inch away from his face and dropped her voice to a whisper. "Let me know when you figure it out, detective." She lightly patted his cheek, and he flinched. Vane flashed the guard another winning smile before heading down the hallway, heart pounding furiously, hands trapped in a slight tremble. Drink your water. Sure, the guard didn't know why the crown kept her around, but she didn't understand it well either. If a common guard felt comfortable enough to antagonize her, she was halfway to Rakva's quarters before she paused and turned around. Out of all the people in the court, there weren't many who would go out of their way to make her life difficult. And there were even fewer who knew about her unconventional schedule. Vane made sure her footsteps were soft and that she clung to the walls as she approached the caretaker's prep area. She hoped her hunch was wrong, and that Salakin's maliciousness began and ended with her griping. But if not, measures would have to be taken, and Vane preferred to get it over with now rather than later. Muffled voices emanated from inside the main prep room. As Vane got closer. She positioned herself outside the door and flared the frills around her ears to amplify her hearing. "Our time. After Josko's done with her, she won't be able to walk." Salakin's voice. Tears. "You're sure your sweetheart can take on a knight? I know he's good, but..." "Oh, please. I've seen her duel. She's sloppy and timid. It won't be a problem." "I still want to hurry. Even if you're right, she might send her sister after us." Rakva's voice piped up. "Who are you talking about?" "Hush. We're taking a trip to the gardens today, and you're going to like it." Give me a moment. I don't like how I'm doing Salakin's voice. I did that differently last time. I tried to make it a little bit, like, older, you know? "Hush! We're taking a trip to the gardens today, and you're going to like it." But Vane was going to take me to the power center. Well, she isn't here today, is she? Vane straightened up right before the door opened, and she found herself face to face with Rokva's primary caretaker. Salakin, Vane said, voice cold. The woman's face paled into a dull gray. Sir Vane. The duel was short, Vane said. The duel was short, Vane said, and not the kind Josko had prepared for. Her gaze flicked to the woman standing a few paces behind Salakin, who held a squirming bundle that had to be Kellis. I don't know what you're talking about, Salakin said, folding her arms. I'm sorry, I'm making a lot of mistakes today. Also, I realized that, I was, moving as I was reading, which is very bad for the audio. I am setting myself up for a nightmare when it comes to editing later. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of the conversation that Vane overheard. Our time. After Josko's done with her, she won't be able to walk. Salakin's voice. Tears. You're sure your sweetheart can take on a knight? I know he's good, but... Oh, please. I've seen her duel. She's sloppy and timid. It won't be a problem. Still, I want to hurry. Even if you're right, she might send her sister after us. Rokva's voice piped up. Who are you talking about? Hush. We're taking a trip to the gardens today, and you're going to like it. But Vane was going to take me to the power center. Well, she isn't here today, is she? Vane straightened up right before the door opened, and she found herself face to face with Rokva's primary caretaker. Salakin, Vane said, voice cold. The woman's face paled into a dull gray. Sir Vane. The duel was short, Vane said, and not the kind Josko had prepared for. Her gaze flicked to the woman standing a few paces behind Salakin, who held a squirming bundle that had to be Kellis. I don't know what you're talking about, Salakin said, folding her arms. What duel? Usually when you're stupid, I can let it go because you're being genuine. But right now, we both know you're spitting sand and I'm not in the mood to deal with it. Vane usually hated talking like this, but the exhaustion had chased away her normal reservation. Besides, Salakin probably deserved it. Salakin's eyes pulled downward, then darted back and forth as her brows knit together. We'll be going, Vane said. The prince and I have a full day ahead of us. Rokva began moving towards her, but Salakin gripped his arm. He looked at her, annoyed, but stayed in place. No, Salakin said. You won't be seeing him until the scheduled time, which is 4 hours from now. Vane raised her eyebrows. Are you absolutely sure you want to do this today? Salakin rolled back her shoulders and met Vane's eyes. Yes. Stupid Zavayan pride. Vane didn't hate Salakin, but she didn't trust her either. Caretaker Salakin, you should think about what you're doing. I will let you reconsider now, but not later. Why do you hate us so badly? I did that too loud. Why do you hate us so badly? The words burst from Salakin's mouth like fireworks. Why can't you let good things happen to normal people? The comment completely caught her off guard, and Vane found herself blinking and taking a step back. What? You're a knight! You can go into combat, be a hero. Some of us don't have that option anymore. For some of us, taking care of some second-born brat is the best we're going to get. And you can't even let us have that. Every drop of sympathy Vane had melted away. Don't you dare talk about the prince that way. Rakva broke free of the other caretaker's hold and darted behind her. You didn't answer my question, Salakin said. Why do you hate us so much? I don't know what happened to Salakin's voice. But that ain't it. You didn't answer my question, Salakin said. Why do you hate us so much? What do you have to gain by taking us down? Vane flared her nostrils and forced her voice to remain low and steady. I swore an oath to protect and support my charge and lay down my life if I needed to. I didn't swear that oath to the queen, or the king, or my sister, or any of the other knights, Vane said, taking a step forward. Salakin didn't flinch like Josko had. I swore it to him. I don't see what that has to do with us. Salakin matched Vane's step, moving right up into her face. Moving right up in her face. Whatever game you're playing, you can play it with the crown heir. Just let us do our job. Why? So you can treat the kid? Why? So you can treat the kid like shit? No, I won't. We treat him fine. We feed him, we take him to his appointments, clean up his messes, all the dirty work. You just called him a second-born brat. Vane curled her hands into fists. While he was right here. While I was right there. If that's what you're willing to do while I'm barely a foot away, how are you going to talk to him when I'm gone? Salakin snorted. So that's it then. You're mad the kid isn't getting coddled and praised every second of the day. It's not like he understands anyway. The fabric around Vane's knees tightened as Rakva's little fingers gripped her legs. He's a kid, not an imbecile, Vane said. And I'm taking charge of him today. So go do something productive with your time. She began to leave, and Salakin seemed to think that provided her with a great opportunity to lunge for Rokva. Before she could so much as touch the kid, Vane whirled around and slammed her into the wall with her forearm. "If you're that desperate for a fight, I'll give it to you," Vane said. "You're no Cyril." She and Salakin remained frozen in a locked gaze, both breathing fast and shallow. "You're right. I'm not an officer," Salakin said. "Harming me is against protocol." Vane shifted her arm up so it pressed against the woman's throat. "Protocol. Something I'm known to always follow." Salakin snorted. "We both know you only latched onto the prince because he was the only small one." "We both know you only latched onto the prince because he was the only one small and stupid enough for you to boss around." Iris would tell her to ram her elbow into Salakin's face and throw her to the ground. It probably wouldn't be that hard. The caretaker had an incurable blood disease that kept her physically weak. But even then, just thinking about harming her made Vane sick. And the kid? "I'll have you know," Vane whispered, "that the only reason you're still standing is because I don't want to explain to the prince what a corpse is." "You're a coward, you mean? And you're very lucky I am," Vane said, trying not to betray how bothered she was by the truth of the caretaker's words. "If you ever speak poorly of Rokva again, I will rip you apart. Do you understand?" Salakin quickly sucked in her cheeks, preparing to spit. Vane jerked her arm up even further, angling the woman's jaw towards the ceiling and increasing pressure. "I said, do you understand?" "Fine," Salakin said, voice raspy as she struggled for air. "Have it your way, sir." Vane released her and backed away, placing a hand on Rokva's shoulder. "We're going to see the power generator now, Rokva." "Can I say goodbye to Callus first?" Rokva pointed at the disgruntled toddler wrapped up in a jacket that restricted her movement. "Go ahead, Rokva." If Salakin tried anything, Vane would have to make good on her promise, and she really, really didn't want to. So she made a show of gripping her dagger and pulling it slightly out of her holster, hoping that would be enough to make Salakin back off. Rokva confidently skipped over to the other caretaker, who begrudgingly lowered Kellis to the kid's height. Rokva stood up on his tiptoes and kissed his little sister on the forehead. She looked mildly less displeased for a moment, and her jacket wriggled over her contained limbs. "Love you," he whispered. He scurried back to Vane's side and put his little hand in hers. "Let's go, Mama." What did he say? "What did he say?" Salakin asked, a slow smile spreading across her face. "Let's go," Vane said, pulling Rokva away. "Does his mother know he calls you that? Does his mother know he calls you that? No, fuck, I keep messing it up. Does his mother know he calls you that?" I keep pausing at, weird points in that sentence. Does his mother know he calls you that? No, I gotta... We're channeling Mean Girls. We're being mean. Does his mother know he calls you that? Where are we putting the emphasis here? Does his mother know he calls you that? Does his mother know he calls you that? Does his mother know he calls you that? Decisions. Does his mother know he calls you that? I'm not bad for saying it. Rakva blurted, repeating words Vane had once muttered. I keep making mistake. Okay, I just gotta breathe. I gotta breathe and relax. I'm just anxious. I'm just nervous. I'm not bad for saying it, Rakva blurted, repeating words Vane had once muttered to herself when he hadn't been paying attention. It's not my fault I see Sir Vane more than my mom. She had to get him out. Get him away. Vane kept a stoic face as she rushed him through the hallway, not daring to turn back. When Vane got home, Iris was right by the door, waiting in her casual clothes. So, how was your day? Iris asked. Vane silently drew the curtains and made sure the windows were shut. Vane? Iris rose to her feet, arms folded over her ribs instead of her chest. What happened? Vane took a deep breath and kicked off her boots, letting the cool carpet of water splash over her feet. She untied her hair and let it fall to her shoulders. You are right, she said. I've been too soft with him. Iris closed her eyes and took a deep, deep breath. Why nervous? Just because, I'm reading in front of people. And, stage fright. It happens sometimes. It's normal. Iris closed her eyes and took a deep, deep breath. What do you mean? He accidentally called me Mama. Do you have anything new to tell me? This time, Salakin heard him, and instead of taking it down, he doubled down. And instead of taking it back, he doubled down. Vane stared at the flower koi circling her feet, hoping for food. I don't regret it exactly. I just wish I'd been more subtle, or... No! No! Iris shouted, eyes snapping open. Tears, Vane! No! No! Iris shouted, eyes snapping open. Tears, Vane! You have the easiest job in the entire world. How are you still messing it up? It's not easy for me. Vane pressed the heels of her palms against her eyes and sank against the door until the carpet splashed over her crossed legs. People are already starting to realize that I'm bluffing. A guard tried to fight a duel with me this morning. I haven't been able to change like you have. The hum of the carpet pump and the gentle ripples made by the koi were the only sounds to be heard for a long time. Then, another splash as Iris sat down next to her. Vane, the only reason I am who I am is because I'm so scared of losing you. Vane pulled her hands away from her face and laid her arms over the top of her knees. She tilted her head towards her sister, who wore an expression only 3 people had ever seen: grief. I thought I was going to, Iris said, for months after. You know, it was up to me to take care of you. I knew that if I didn't find a way to support us, to support you, you wouldn't make it. But no one wanted to hire the daughter of 2 weepers, especially not back then. I had to be stronger, because if I didn't, you... She stared at the ceiling, rubbing her thumb across her knuckles. The past 2 years, I've never seen you more at peace. You're sometimes happy, even. But if you keep going down this road, if you keep filling the prince's head with all these ideas our parents had, you're going to lose him. And I don't want to think about what that would do to you. She reached over and squeezed Vane's knee. If I could be strong for you, you can be strong for the kids. I think they all need you. And I need you. So don't do anything stupid, okay? Vane nodded. Iris offered a smile and squeezed her sister's knee again, then rose to her feet. If you're not too tired, I need help with my trident. It's making weird noises and refuses to fire more than twice. She offered her hand to help Vane to her feet. Welcome for any kind of distraction, Vane took her sister's hand, water streaming from her clothes as she stood. Show it to me. Iris yanked a trident off the wall and tossed it to her. Vane caught it in her left hand and inspected the head, twisting the weapon around in her hands. It had a fine weight to it, and it was obviously well maintained. An older custom model. It required a snap-tooth driver to access, something Vane likely didn't own. She wandered out the front room, down the hallway, and into her workshop, careful to avoid the koi still circling her feet. Any ideas? Iris asked, hovering over her shoulder. I haven't even opened it up yet. Vane set the trident on her table and grabbed a container of fish food. She dumped some of the kibble into the water, and the koi caused small ripples as they flickered in and out of the carpet, grabbing the food and darting away. Vane smiled at them and opened a small set. Up a small set of drawers on the table. Stupid TikTok notification thingy. Vane smiled at them and opened up a small set of drawers on the table, thumbing through her wide variety of tools. It became apparent that if she did have the snap-tooth driver, it would likely take more time to find than it was worth. She hummed to herself, trying to shove aside the beast inside her gut. It was always there, the beast. Sometimes it just growled at her. Sometimes, like today, it gnawed on her intestines and slid its dark tendrils up through her chest. and coiled around her throat. It pulled her jaw tight as it whispered that she'd made a massive mistake, and Rokva's life would be ruined for it, and so would Iris's, and everyone would find out the truth about Wokma, and there's nothing she would be able to do about it, and she'd be branded as something worse than a weeper and a traitor, but didn't she deserve it? Don't you deserve it? The beast kept saying. After what you've done, you don't really care about the kid. And you think loving him will make the pain go away, but it won't. It won't ever. It won't ever. Don't you have an actual engineer on hand to take care of things like this? Vane asked, gently closing the tool drawer with a single finger. You're an actual engineer, Iris said. Was. Vane wrapped her thumb and forefinger around the biowater band on her wrist. Was. Vane wrapped her thumb and forefinger around the biowater band on her wrist and slid it up to her forearm. She searched for StephTsu driver, tapping out the requirements. A variety of drivers flashed across the display, and Vane scrolled through them. You just want me to do it because I won't charge you, she said, sitting down in the chair and scooting closer to the table. And you could do it yourself, but you're too lazy to look it up. Maybe. Iris rested her chin on top of Vane's head. Vane ignored her, but not too much, and tapped on the image of the driver she wanted. The bioband's display split apart and rushed into an image of her chosen tool, then thickened until it was perfectly solid. Vane plucked the tool from the water and shook it off. Don't you have 5 million of those? Don't you have 5 million of those? Iris asked. She lifted her head for a moment, but only to fold her arms on top of Vane's skull and apply all her weight. I feel like I find them everywhere. No, those are kick-edge drivers. This is a StephTsu because whoever built your trident decided to make every mechanic in the galaxy hate them. After an obnoxiously long time of fiddling, Vane opened the trident's blaster cartridge with the StephTsu, revealing its mechanical innards. Remarkably simple. Obviously broken. Vane said. There's your problem. She tapped 2 of the small cylinders, lying next to each other, buzzing with red light. Your primary blast regulator is cracked and overextending. Your secondary regulator isn't able to compensate, so it's just preventing the whole thing from functioning. We'll try that one. I'll try that one more time. Because I want that to sound like I know what I'm saying. Drink your water. Your primary blast regulator is cracked and overextending. Your secondary regulator is unable to compensate, so it's just preventing the whole thing from functioning. Iris let out a deep humph. I understood about 2 of those words. Vane tapped her fingers, trying to find a way to explain. This type of blaster can create bolts hot enough to punch through several feet of steel. The secondary regulator makes sure that never happens. Vane plucked out the 2 cylinders and unscrewed their caps from the glass casing. Why? That sounds useful. Why? Iris asked. That sounds useful. Vane opened another drawer, this one filled with spare parts for blaster weapons. Because if the blaster ever does make a bolt that strong, you have about 10 seconds before the entire weapon explodes and all that's left of you is a pair of legs. She replaced the broken capsule pieces and popped the new regulators back into the trident. Everyone says they're going to invent a blaster that doesn't rely on capsule regulators, but they never do, because every other energy source is too weak to produce that kind of damage we're used to. But they never do, because every other energy source is too weak to produce the same kind of damage we're used to. Look at my little sister being all smart. I said all of this wrong. I don't like the tone. All right, we're in for a long stream. Everyone says they're going to invent a blaster that doesn't rely on the capsule regulators, but they never do, because every other energy source is too weak to produce the kind of damage we're used to. Look at my little sister, being all smart. Look at my little sister being all smart, Iris said. She ruffled Vane's hair and then left. Vane dropped the snap tooth into her bioband, and it dissolved into the display. She was lucky the bioband retained enough biomatter to keep its shape. Around her wrist, even if she'd temporarily sacrificed the device's display. Vane scrolled through the interface, making sure she hadn't missed any messages. A single notification blipped across the surface. Immediate response from Crown required. The message had come in 10 minutes ago. Vane's heart lurched, and she opened the message at the same time a knock sounded on the front door. She shot to her feet, startling the Koi. "Can you get that?" Iris asked. You're still in uniform, sort of." Vane scrambled to the door, hoping it was completely unrelated to the message she'd just received. She pulled her shoulders back, wiped her face clean of an expression, and opened the door. Cadet stood before her, trident in hand. "This is it," Vane thought. "The Queen's finally going to have me arrested." "Sir Vane," Cadet said. "The Queen requires your presence immediately." "Sir Vane," Cadet said. "The Queen requires your presence immediately." "I apologize for my tardiness, My Majesty." Fuck. "I apologize for my tardiness, Your Majesty." Fuck, I messed that up. I need a moment. "I apologize for my tardiness, Your Majesty," Vane said, out of breath. "My bioband was out of commission for a few minutes." The Queen stared at her for a moment, eyes flicking across Vane's figure. Vane looked down to see the top clasp of her uniform unbuttoned, and hastily fixed it with shaking fingers. Zavo would have had her on worm duty for months if he'd caught her being so sloppy. "I thought you were an engineer," the Queen said. "Reason demands that your bioband should work better than anyone else's." It wasn't functioning. It wasn't malfunctioning, Your Majesty. I'll happily accept any punishment you see fit to offer. Letting out a soft hum, the queen turned away. You are not here to be punished. You are to join me on a private outing. Vane simply nodded and offered another bow, though she couldn't shake her deep confusion. There was no way she was being rewarded. Are we visiting anyone, Your Majesty? No, the queen said. We are not. This outing is purely recreational. Cadet's impatience had led Vane to believe this trip was anything but that. Who else will be attending? Besides Cadet, only you. That could be a good thing. The queen liked having an audience when she did terrible things to her. What will my duties include for this venture? Vane asked, clasping her hands behind her back. She had been in too much of a hurry to grab shoes, but the queen didn't seem to mind. Nothing serious, the queen said. Your presence is mostly precautionary, though there are some tasks I'll ask you to perform. The boarding ramp for the crown vessel slid out with a hiss, and Cadet went ahead before giving the all clear. The queen strode up the ramp, and Vane kept as much distance between them as possible as she did the same. This ship was remarkably smaller than any she'd flown in before. Definitely more private. Almost personal. The ramp led up to a luxurious lounge, complete with a shallow carpet and fur-coated sofas lining the walls. Vane wasn't sure if she was allowed to sit, so she remained standing as the queen took a seat on the white fur, issuing commands through her bioband. She was here as a precaution. So, security detail? She'd taken a class on that a few months ago. Vane kept her left hand on the grip of her weapon, scanning the small room for anything that could potentially compromise the queen. Maybe this trip would be brief and private enough that only Vane's presence would be needed. She wanted to ask so many more questions, but felt it would be incredibly unwise. Regardless, her anxiety slowly shrank as the pre-flight checks were completed, and the queen carried on without a care in the world, calmly retrieving a biowater pad from a compartment in the wall and scrolling through it. She didn't even look up as the ship's hum escalated into a roar in preparation for planar jump. Is it planar or planar? I don't know. Is it planar or planar? It would just be way too convenient if it would be way too convenient if Kindle made it easy for me to Google words. Okay, I said it correctly. Okay. She didn't even look up as the ship's hum escalated into a roar in preparation for planar jump. Vane didn't have time to grab anything, and instead braced herself as the ship lurched forward and rearranged her vision. The deafening rumble ended with a thoom, and Vane's senses slowly returned to her. "Get me a drink, Sir Vane," the Queen said, still looking at her biopad. "Warm frost spice seltzer. Dispenser is at the back." Vane quickly bowed and scurried off to obey, trying to keep her breathing steady as she retrieved a glass from the wall and entered the Queen's desired specifications into the beverage dispenser. She waited for the inevitable beratement, for being chastised for showing too much familiarity, for something. But the Queen continued to sit in silence. Vane sprinkled a pinch of moonflower into the drink for flavor. Though it hadn't been requested, it would accent the frost spice well. She stirred the drink and delivered it, careful to keep her gaze anywhere but the Queen. The Queen pulled the drink from her hand, fingers briefly brushing against hers. Vane's breath caught, and she braced herself for a reprimand. Nothing. The Queen either felt uncharacteristically... Nothing. The Queen either felt uncharacteristically merciful today, or she had more important matters to worry about. Vane was ready to spend the rest of who knew how long in silence. Dang it. I made noise. Vane was ready to spend the rest of who knew how long in silence, but a soft sneeze interrupted the quiet. She quickly removed her blaster, activating it with a flick of her thumb. "Is there anyone besides us and Cadet on board this vessel, Your Majesty?" "Only the pilot." That sound had not come from the cockpit. Vane slowly slid her thumb along the side of the blaster, increasing its heat. "You should take cover, Your Majesty." She'd do her best to take care of the intruder, but chances were she'd go down with it. Vane inched toward one of the empty seats, going as quietly as she could before violently ripping... Why is this so difficult? Before violently ripping the seat free. Instead of an assassin, she was only met with a pair of small, terrified turquoise eyes. "Prince Rakvar," Vane said, immediately deactivating her blaster. "I don't think you're supposed to be here." "I know," Rakvar whispered. "Don't tell my mom. Don't tell my mom. No, 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 no." I'm sorry, guys. I feel like I'm not doing my best. I want to do my best for you. "I know," Rakvar whispered. "Don't tell my mom." Vane grimaced at him, hoping he'd understand that she was apologetic. "The prince decided to stow away aboard the ship, Your Majesty." The Queen frowned, setting down her glass. "Rakvar, emerge." Rakvar obeyed, crawling out of the hollow seat with no small amount of difficulty. "Are we going to turn around, Your Majesty?" Vane asked. After a significant pause, The queen shook her head and picked up her glass. No, I don't believe we have the time, which is a bit unfortunate. Sit down, Rokva. We'll deal with you once this is over. Rokva lifted himself onto a seat that Vane hadn't destroyed, legs dangling above the floor. Where are we going, Mother? A lodge in Kaivalis. A lodge in Kaivalis, the queen said. She took a sip from her glass, eyes on her biopad. We won't be staying long. Her eyes narrowed in the direction of her drink. Oh, Rokva said. He frowned and folded his hands in his lap. Why? Is Sir Vane in trouble? Why? Is Sir Vane in trouble? The queen set down her biopad. Did she do something worthy of punishment? No, Rokva said. I just... Sullivan said some weird stuff, and there were no guards, so I wanted to be here for protection. Vane did not like any of those words. The kid was too well-meaning for his own good. I admire your concern for my safety, but I do have a guard, the queen said, jerking her head in Vane's direction without looking at her. Do you not see her as one? Rokva looked up at Vane, probably hoping for a hint about what he should. Rokva looked up at Vane, probably hoping for a hint about what he should say, since the queen's back was to her. Vane offered a baffled shrug. She understood about as much about the situation as he did. I guess so. Interesting, the queen said, even through her usual emotional mask. Emotionless, probably, that's probably supposed to be emotion. Even through her usual emotionless mask, she sounded annoyed. Vane was just happy she didn't. Even through her usual... No, I gotta say this entire paragraph again. Oh my god, This chapter is going to be absolute hell for me to edit. Interesting, the queen said. Even through her usual emotionless mask, she sounded annoyed. Vane was just happy she didn't want to take it out on the kid. The rest of the flight was fairly uneventful. Rokva was better behaved than Vane had ever seen him, and she hoped it was because he was getting older and finally developing some actual brain matter. They touched down in the middle of a thick green swamp, empty, except for a lodge that was small by the crown's standards, but triple the size of the house Vane grew up in. Sir Vane, what do you know of Kaivalis? The queen asked as they entered the lodge. Nothing, Your Majesty, Vane said. She felt a little embarrassed to admit it. As a knight, she should be familiar with every single planet under Zivayan control. But she didn't. Just the ones Iris complained about, and the ones used as hubs for Scrounger trade. The Queen gestured for Cadet to open the lodge, and he quickly did so. Let me enlighten you then. Cavalis is a long-acquired territory inhabited by Ekin. They have been very receptive to Svean rule, and we have been able to maintain a fantastic relationship with them. It's why I feel safe bringing such a limited entourage. Vane nodded as the Queen entered the lodge, which opened into a fairly large living area with a deep carpet and a massive water screen in the center. Rakva grumbled to himself as he followed his mother, sloshing through water almost to his knees. Stay dignified, Rakva, the Queen snapped. Rakva's spine straightened out and he silenced himself, but didn't look happy about it. I feel honored that you trust Cadet and I to provide sufficient protection, Vane said, choosing her words carefully. The Queen scoffed. Don't be. A wounded snail would be sufficient protection against the native life here. I need you to deliver a message to the leader of the local congregation. She placed a data cube in Vane's hand. Cadet will send the coordinates to your bioband. It should be close enough that you can walk. Of course, Your Majesty, Vane said. That would be simple enough. Maybe. Maybe there was more to the Queen than she'd initially imagined. Maybe she really was just looking for a quiet getaway with her, for some reason. The Queen glanced at Vane's bare feet. Once you get a few units away from the lodge, you'll be able to receive comms but not send them. Just a little quirk of the area. It shouldn't be an issue if you get back quickly. Understood. Vane pocketed the data cube. She didn't feel like the best representation of the Zevayan Empire at the moment, but if the Queen trusted her, then it would be good enough. And right now, Vane desperately needed her trust. One more thing, the Queen said, as Vane turned to go. You may think I haven't... Was that Gem? Was that Gem? Gem Dragon? Is that Gem Dragon in my Twitch chat? Oh my god. Sorry, I forget that walk-ons are working. You don't have to chat if you don't want to. Just hi. Sorry. One more thing, the Queen said as Vane turned to go. You may think I haven't noticed how familiar you are with the crown. I don't like the cadence that I keep taking with my words today. You may think I haven't noticed how familiar you are with the crown. Vane froze, and her throat constricted. Here it was. Here was the wrath she'd been anticipating. I have noticed, Knight. I noticed everything you do and everything you say. I take note of every glance and every pinch of moonflower. Sometimes I choose to look the other way, but don't depend on it. The sensation bubbling from Vane's stomach up into her chest felt wrong and exhilarating at the same time. Vane shoved it down, hoping that if she ignored it, it would cease to exist. Before she could even attempt to respond, the Queen turned away. Coordinates blipped across Vane's bioband, and she decided it was as good an excuse as any to take her leave and start her journey. The swamp was very nice. It smelled a bit odd, and there were no paths, but she didn't mind. She was just relieved the Queen wasn't going to send her to Draxus. Vane stopped admiring the local fauna for a moment to go over her map, and quickly discovered a river that seemed to be flowing from the general direction of her destination. It lazily cut through the swamp, but barely a bank to speak of. Pockets of thick green and turquoise moss flourished atop massive boulders lining the river and rising from the murky water. She let herself walk in the river's edge, tiny pebbles and algae settling under the webbing of her bare toes. It was easy to see why this place had been chosen as an escape for the crown. If they stayed on Kaivalis for a few days, she could take the kid here, and they could collect rocks. And maybe the Queen would let her walls down a little and join them. There had to be a bit of softness in her, a bit of kindness, or she wouldn't look the other way as often as she did. Maybe, out here, light years away from the other knights and members of the court, Her Majesty would let herself relax and even smile. Vane had never seen her smile before, and tried to imagine it. Would dimples form, like they did on Rokva's cheeks when he grinned? Or would her face remain smooth and soft, like Zaylen's? A blip from her bioband pulled her from her thoughts, and she looked up from her feet to discover she'd been walking for over an hour with a destination A blip from her bioband pulled her from her thoughts, and she looked up from her feet to discover she'd been walking for over an hour with the destination readily approaching. Iris would have been furious at being made to walk so far without being offered a vehicle. When Vane got back, she'd have to pretend to be mildly annoyed and complain to Cadet about it. The river's speed increased, and Vane plucked her way across a few moss-covered stones, avoiding the water. Getting swept up in the current would be an inconvenience at best, and lead to a head injury at worst. Vane jumped to the bank before it steeply rose above the water, where she was able to glimpse a crystalline Vane jumped to the bank before it steeply rose above the water, where she was able to glimpse a crystalline lake beyond the slouching trees. Once again, she forgot her mission for a moment and paused to admire the scenery. Several strange animals flitted in and out of the water, stretching strange wings that transformed into fins when they splashed down into the lake. They were so delightfully distracting that it took Vane a while to notice the buildings built to the west. They looked like a mixture of Zivayan architecture and something else. It still wasn't difficult to tell what most of the buildings were for. They were arranged like every single military compound Vane had seen. Big, round silos containing Tyrisum, tiresome. I guess I'll say tiresome. We have a raid. Hello. Hello. Hello, Ruad. Ruad raid. Hello, Ruad. It's good to see you. How are you? Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for the raid. Thank you for bringing your community over. How are you? What were you doing today? Were you doing some reading as well? For those joining, hello, my name is Steph. I read books and stories on stream. I do also ASMR and singing. Today we are continuing to narrate Drown the Stars, which is a sci-fi alien drama with a little bit of romance. It is a wonderful story, and I am extremely proud to be able to read this to you guys. We're reading Brian Boru and Viking Age Ireland. Sick. I love checking out the YouTube videos because I feel like I can't ever catch your streams, but I love getting to watch the YouTube videos when you post them. But hello and welcome in, Raiders. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, for both Ruad and our wonderful fishies that are joining, I am recording, so I do have to get back to doing the reading. But please bear with me as I make mistakes. Believe me, I wish I didn't make mistakes, but we're not perfect. So if I repeat stuff, I'm repeating something simply for editing purposes. And if you do need to raid and run, please take care of yourself. I am so incredibly grateful that you chose to share your community with me. I will do my best to take care of them. You get this? I believe it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Are you an anime voice actor? Not yet. I would really like to expand my voice acting to anime, but I'm not there yet. Okay. All right, let's get back to reading. We are currently in chapter 8, which is a very long chapter. We've got 10 more pages to go. It still wasn't difficult to tell what most of the buildings were for. They were arranged like every single military compound Vane had seen. Big, round silos containing tyrosum and silifrane. Domes containing barracks. That square building probably held a data center and maybe even a generator. She was almost disappointed that her expedition had nearly come to an end. Vane fingered the data cube in her pocket, realizing the Queen had never given her a name or even description of who she was supposed to give it to. Just the leader of the local congregation, whatever that meant. Perhaps the information wasn't particularly sensitive. Vane turned away from the lake, looking for a more formal path to the encampment. It didn't take her long to find one, hidden by leaf-covered bushes made of an oddly deep green. Rumors of a Zevea nearby. The voice caught her off guard. It was faint, coming a little ways down the path. Vane inspected the rough bush before her, trying to find a way to force through and properly introduce herself. Brive said she saw one by the river. A fancy one, too. Was it alone? It looked alone. It looked alone, but that doesn't make any sense. Saz has a team out looking for the other ones. The bush wasn't going to give, at least not before the locals passed her. Vane would just have to deal with the fact that her first interaction with these people would be an awkward one, where they talked over a bush. 2 people came into her line of sight, though they didn't seem to notice her. They looked like Ekin, based on the brightly colored hair and feathering pushing up from underneath the skin on their foreheads. "Hello?" "Hello?" Vane called out. She trailed off as she noticed the image of a bloody crown on their shoulders. "Hello?" Vane called out. She trailed off as she noticed the image of a bloody crown on their shoulders, the symbol of insurgents violently opposed to Zevayan rule. All three of them stood in frozen silence for a moment. The larger Ekin on the left hefted a blaster from his hip. "Found it." Vane had just a pinch of self-preservation left, and it was enough to make her duck as both the Ekin opened fire. She scrambled away, blasts peppering her back. Though the shots didn't pierce through her protective jacket, they burned, and Vane flung herself into the lake. She dove toward the bottom, swimming faster than she had in her entire life. Lines of thin bubbles and heat erupted around her, indicating where blasts had been fired into the water. They became more and more wayward the deeper she got, until they all but dissipated. She sealed up her nose and flared her gills, heart pounding. Not friendly. Not harmless. This wasn't good. At least she was barefoot. Saz has a team out looking for the other ones. Saz has a team out looking for the other ones. The only protection Rokva and the Queen had was Kadat. He might have been a fine executioner, but he couldn't take on an entire squad of bloodthirsty insurgents, especially if they caught him by surprise. Vane zipped through the water until she got to a relatively dark place surrounded by rocks, scattering a group of cloth-like creatures. She activated her bioband and tried to connect to Kadat. But the signal refused to go through. Right. Outgoing comms didn't work. She'd just have to reach the lodge before the insurgents did. Vane tied the tails of her coat together in front of her to reduce drag, and darted east towards the river. As she did so, the lake became remarkably more shallow, and a barrage of fire burst through the water when she approached the outlet. One of the bolts grazed her foot, sending up a pillowing plume of violet blood. Ah, so these were smart insurgents. Vane swooped around and torpedoed back to the center of the lake, rapidly jerking randomly to the left and right to make herself harder to hit. She checked her pockets and found the remains of a stim patch, which she slapped on her foot. The place where she'd been hit still stung like tears, but at least she wasn't leaving behind a trail for the insurgents and hungry native life. She had to pull them away from the river mouth somehow. What did she have? Her bioband, random scraps of metal, a couple loose packages of biomatter, and her blaster. Vane swam in loose, quick circles, trying to think. If she caused a distraction, led them away from the river mouth, and incapacitated them there. Yes, this could work. It had to. They were on their way to tear apart the kid. Ignoring the pain in her foot, Vane swam in the direction of the compound. Tyresium was a very explosive fuel, and the insurgents had an entire tank of it within blaster shot. She cranked the power up on her dagger and surfaced, firing at the Tyresium tank. Please work. Please work. The bolt left a tiny mark on the tank's wall but didn't puncture through. Vane cursed and dove back into the water as the insurgents redirected their fire, nearly boiling the water with the quantity of shots. New plan. She swam to the very bottom of the lake and expanded her bioband. Forcing her hands to remain steady, she opened up the utility screen and scrolled through the options until she reached the driver section. She selected the kick edge option, and the biomatter rushed together to form the tiny physical tool. Without a strong amount of biomatter to hold it together, the bioband melted into the surrounding lake. Whatever she did next, she'd have to do it right. Vane used the driver to pry apart her dagger, accessing its innards. The two regulating cylinders pulsed gently next to each other, and Vane pulled the secondary one free, letting it sink to the dirt and stone below. She snapped the cover back over the handle and prepped it to fire. Now for the tricky part. She couldn't exactly take long, regulating breaths, so she made a few broad turns to get more water flowing through her gills. It wasn't the same, but it was close enough. She got as close to the compound as she could while remaining deep in the water, and crouched on the lake floor before springing up, pumping her feet as fast as they would go. Her speed was slightly hindered by the fact she kept her blaster in hand, but she didn't have much of a choice. Vane flew out of the water, aimed at the tank, and fired. Vane flew out of the water, aimed at the tank, and fired. Without the restraints of a regulator, the blaster bolt punctured the metal with a hiss, releasing a cloud of tyresium gas. More shouts sounded as blaster fire burst around her, a few shots hitting her coat and legs before she became swallowed by the water. She didn't feel any of it. 1. There was no time to weave or dodge. Whatever fire she took, she took. 2. A bolt slammed into Vane's left hand, knocking the dagger free from her fingers. She grabbed it with her other hand, fumbling as more fire peppered the water. 3. Down. She needed to go down. Momentum was important, making sure she kept the dagger in a ferocious grip. Vane angled in the opposite direction of the air bubbles and kicked. 4. The blaster grew warm in her hands, vibrating slightly. That was good. 5. Something hit her back, but it only served to propel her even farther downward. 6. She rotated before she hit the lake floor and shoved upward. Clouds of swirling purple clouded her vision, but they provided her with a clear indication of which way was up. 7. Her fingers burned where they were wrapped around the dagger's handle, and red cracks snapped down the blade. 8. Where was the surface? She needed to surface. Now. The dagger's vibrations graduated to violent shaking, and her hand screamed in agony as the entire weapon glowed a brilliant red. 9. She didn't have time for pain. Vane shot out of the water, the surface much closer than she realized, and she hurled the dagger over the fence and toward the punctured tyresium tank. 10. Vane fell into the water right as the explosion hit. She tried to swim away, but a force stronger than solid stone rammed into her back and sent her rolling through the depths. Any sense of orientation she had burst apart, and she flailed in a futile attempt to gain control. A piece of debris ripped by her head, knocking her skull aside and tearing away part of the frills on her ear. She couldn't see. The explosion propelled her directly into the side of the lake, ramming her into stone and pinning her there. Vane didn't realize how much she was trying to move until her arms suddenly obeyed her. Rakva. She needed to get to the kid. Though the water was still insanely murky, Vane followed the edge of the lake until it opened into an outlet, pulling her along in a gentle current. Confident this was the mouth of the river, Vane bolted through, grateful for the assistance of the moving water. Vane didn't know how long she swam. All she knew was that she kicked her legs until it became too shallow to do so anymore, and she stumbled out of the river, digging in the recesses of her brain to remember how to get back to the lodge. Instinct kicked in, and, thankfully, it wasn't long before the lodge emerged from the swamp. To her relief, it still stood. She gathered the last of her energy and ripped open the door to the lodge, panting. Rivulets of water streamed from her chin and the ends of her clothes, splashing into the carpet below. "We need to leave," she said around her gasps. "Insurgents! It's not safe." She slammed the door behind her, gripping the frame to keep from collapsing. She had to hold on for just a little longer, at least until Rakva was safe. There was no telling what the insurgents would do if they knew members of the royal family were stationed here. She looked up, expecting the Queen to order a swift evacuation. Instead, the sovereign crown sat with her chin resting on folded fingers, inspecting the water screen growing out of the pond in the center of the room. An entire contingent of soldiers surrounded her, weapons at the ready. Vane forced her eyes to focus just enough to see the screen. What the screen displayed. The compound, or where it had been. Pillars of thick smoke mingled with flames and frantic insurgents trying to flee or aid each other. Even from here, Vane could tell many of them were beyond saving. And Rakva, little, tiny Rakva, sat next to his mother, eyes wide with horror. He saw, Vane realized, stomach compacting into a solid pit. He saw everything. "There have been rumors about you, you know," the Queen said, never taking her eyes from the screen. Vane took another deep breath, trying to keep white spots from swarming her vision. "Your Majesty, you and the prince are still..." The Queen raised a hand, silencing her. "There have been complaints. Claims that you aren't what you seem." Any other time, the Queen's words would have made her panic, but Vane was already teetering uncomfortably close to the void. They needed to go, now. Why wasn't the Queen doing anything? "Yes, some very bold claims that your sister was solely responsible for the events of Wokmo, and you've been taking undue credit, that you've been skating by with bravado and undue confidence." The queen's words swam around her like minnows in the rapids. Vane tried to grasp at them, but her knees began to buckle. She couldn't fall. Iris would be disappointed. Vane's fingernails dug into the doorframe, keeping her upright. Were those holes in the webbing between her fingers? She shifted in a desperate attempt to maintain balance, only to notice the carpet beneath her swirling with violet blood. However, it seems very clear to me, Sir Vane, that your skill was not at all exaggerated. In fact, you have all but replicated the devastation of Wakma in complete solitude. I fully anticipated your defeat, if not your cowardice or death. Yet, here you stand. The queen's voice became distorted. Though Vane heard her, it was as if she were in the lake again, hearing the explosion thrum and echo from the surface. She hadn't fallen, had she? Mother! 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 She's hurt! I feel like I sound too much like a girl. Hi, Luca. Hi. Mother! She's hurt! Vane's head snapped up at the sound of Rakva's voice, gaining a small sense of clarity. The kid jumped off the couch and started running to her, but the queen grabbed the back of his coat and yanked him back. He struggled in her grip, distress wild in his eyes. Well done, Sir Vane, the queen said. It seems my only poor choice in staff were my son's caretakers. You are competent enough to replace all of them. She's hurt! Rakva screamed, his frantic movements tossing up water from the carpet as the queen held him in place. He needed to calm down. He needed to calm down now, before the queen did something to him. Don't worry, Vane said. Listen to your queen. I'll be fine. She gathered enough strength to touch her finger to her forehead in salute. Not a single complaint, the queen said, her voice obstructed. Still delivered her message, still filled with shrapnel. No inquiry into the reasoning behind her orders. Gave a proper salute. She needed to stay standing. Wait to be put at ease. Prove she... That's true devotion, Rakva. I think I'll promote her to Admiral. Rakva. He knew now. He knew what it meant when people called her and Iris butchers. I want you to be just like her. Vane's legs buckled. She hit the water, and the tang of blood filled her senses. We did it! We finally finished the chapter. Okay, wow. Whew, man. That for me, I would say that was a very difficult first stream back. But we did it. that was 20 pages of reading. Please stream every day. I can't do that. I can't stream every day. That's like so I can't do that because my voice can't handle that much. Gem, thank you so much for the 5 gift subs. Oh my gosh. Thank you. How have you been, Gem? I feel like it's been a while since I subscribed to your YouTube. Thank you. Yes. I have a lot of reading available on YouTube. So now I will say the difference between what you're hearing now and the YouTube videos is that the YouTube videos are edited. So I remove mistakes. I remove talking to the chat. Those are more like audiobooks. But there is a tab called Live, and you can actually listen to my live streams all the way back to 2024. So if you enjoy listening to the live streams, there's a lot of live streams to listen to. Gem, thank you. And also a thank you to B-Dogs. Thank you so much for resubscribing with your Prime. I don't feel like today's reading was my best performance, but I am just getting back into it. So it'll just take some time, you know? I like turning off the outline. I feel like this is very stylistic. Look at all of the beautiful fishies we have in the background. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Kaleido. I don't know why I was gonna say that wrong. I was gonna put the L before the A. Don't forget to drink your water. It is very important. Flashbang. Sorry. I'm glad you liked it. I'm trying to think, what is my... Hi, Nightcall. You want a poll? Okay. I'm sorry, Gem. I didn't mean to blind you. Well, let's see how many pages we have for chapter 9. Okay, so chapter 9 starts... Oh, I should bookmark this. So we can remove that bookmark and that bookmark. I think one of my favorite, where my boy Moro, he was in here earlier. I don't know if he left. Repost it for my buddies. Thank you for the repost. He was in here earlier. You could probably message him. My favorite chapter of this reading so far, I would say my favorite chapter would be the one where Vane is trying to make the shield, or trying to break through the shield, like the king had asked him to, and Rokva is sitting there being like, I'll get you in trouble. I'll get you in trouble. It's so cute. You can't tell me that that isn't cute. Now, we do have a hype train going on for the next 16 seconds. We're 50% on level 2. So if this is chapter 9 starts on 151. Face card. Hi. You're so cute. Thank you so much, Gem. I believe, yeah. Gem, you single-handedly started the hype train and finished the hype train at level 2. You know what? Salute 07s in chat. Mad respect. Thank you, Gem, so much for the gift subs. Oh my goodness, is that the Discord notification sound? Do I have a Discord message? Chapter 9 is only 6 pages, and then we move on to part 2. So this book is actually in a couple of parts. I won't tell you the name of the parts because that'll give away some spoilers, but hi Diablo. But one of the really cool aspects of the writing in this book is the inclusion of 7 years post Wakma and, you know, blank time before assassination. Like, you know something is going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. And it just does such an amazing job of making you guess until something happens. So I really look forward to continuing more reading tomorrow, but we will be ending stream here shortly. Because we are at the 2-hour mark. And if you are new here, I normally only stream 2 hours for the sustainability of my voice, because this is a lot of effort. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of strain on my vocal cords, and so I limit streams to about 2 hours so that I can come back and I can stream some more tomorrow. So I will be back again tomorrow, Friday, 6 p.m. Tomorrow is Friday already. Okay. This is the part where we say our good nights, our goodbyes, and our see you tomorrows. I will be back again tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time Zone for more reading of Drown the Stars. And I would love if you joined me again. Now, if you are watching on Twitch, we are going to raid out. Please, ! Raid, copy the raid message, and, behave wherever we land, wherever we raid. Enjoy the content, stick around, follow if you want to, and, just represent this community well. If you are watching on YouTube or on TikTok, the stream is just going to end for you, but I highly encourage you to join the Discord server and check me out on YouTube so you can listen to my YouTube videos or my previous live streams while I'm gone. So, until next time, please drink your water, eat your food, be kind to yourself and others, and have a wonderful night.